And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking Super Bowl 59. It's the last one, last game of the year. All leads up to this. My friend, Mr. Eric Warren's with me. How we doing?
I'm doing well, Brenden. I'm doing well. These 2 weeks before the Super Bowl always feel like they take forever. Can't imagine being a Birds fan. Has this felt like an eternity for you, or
Not
what?
long enough. It's flew by. I would, give me another week to kind of sit on this. It's I felt like I missed the open, like the pre-week before it, and it all kind of just came hitting me, crashing into me this week with the media day and everything like that. It's been kind of a weird week to process it, but 3
Do
days
you
away.
feel like the media day or the media week has been quieter this year? I don't know if it's because it's a rematch or not, but I feel like I'm not getting flooded with just dumb interviews that normally happens every year.
Well, as a news editor, I see all the there's dumb interviews out there. Did you see some of the questions Mahomes got on media day? Like they've got to ban like the TikTok reporters going into media day. Like,
yeah, maybe I guess it's just the NBA trade deadline just went off this week, and there's been so much buzz about that maybe just the NFL hasn't flooded my timeline like it usually does this time of year.
And one thing that's kind of, I don't know if it's bugging me, but like there's a sickness going around the Eagles defensive locker room. Like 2 weeks ago, it's been kind of happening. And they put them all on like together in a room with all the media members. Like there was a reporter that said he spoke to Nolan Smith after the NFC Championship game, and Nolan Smith was wearing a mask. Like it's, I don't know, just like let them play the game a little bit, I think the whole media day thing is just a little too much. My personal opinion.
Yeah, no, but it's not going anywhere. I used to complain about it, and then I realized I'm old man yelling at the cloud there because it's not going anywhere.
They're just gonna add to it. Like there's gonna be more events before. It's not, like you said, it's not going away. Okay, so here's how Warrens and I are gonna do this. We're going to break down Eagles defense versus Chiefs offense, Eagles offense versus Chiefs defense, and then we're gonna take a break and give you 5 best bets, and then we're gonna give you our game pick and our MVP pick. Pretty straightforward. Warrensy, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's start with the most intriguing matchup. This is like a football nerd's dream. I've been going all my week, been thinking about this. Like, how is this going to go? And that is the that's the Eagles defense versus Chiefs offense. You have Vic Fangio versus Andy Reid, two of the most veteran coaches in the NFL. This is a chance for the Eagles defense to bounce back after the last Super Bowl they played. The Chiefs offense dominated that game. If you look at like some analytical stats, it's hilarious. 0.395 EPA per play in that game, 61.5 success rate. They scored 31 points. They did whatever they wanted against Jonathan Gannon in the Birds in 2022. Vic Fangio's defense this year, first in points per game, top 3 in many major categories, first in defensive success rate. I think this is a more rounded unit than the one in 2022. The one in 2022 was very good at getting after quarterbacks. They played a lot of bad quarterbacks, so kind of a bad offensive line. They had 70 sacks that year. This defense, in my opinion, is more well-roundedly built instead of just like upfront built. But I'll pass the ball to you, Warrensy. What is your main, what are you watching the most on this matchup?
Yeah, I guess I just want to start with comparing it to as a rematch, comparing it to the game 2 years ago. And I really don't think I'm going to take a lot away from that game. Like you said, I think these are two completely different teams.
And the Sodfathers are involved as well, right? Like, you remember the field was a mess.
Factor.
Both teams really struggled to get footing getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, and if you look at that Philly defense in 2022, it was ranked highly. You saw a top 10 unit, but really there was a lot of noise in those numbers. They feasted on a poor schedule, and they only played 3 top 10 offenses that year, and they all kind of had their way with the Eagles. And then we saw what happened in the Super Bowl. So I just think that this Eagles defense is a completely different unit. So I'm not going to use the game 2 years ago in a lot of what we break down today, because I really do think it's a completely different matchup and there is no point of it. And I think the biggest difference in the Kansas City offense is Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw the ball down the field. He was last among qualifying quarterbacks in air yards per attempt. He completed the most passes behind the line of scrimmage of any quarterback in the NFL. So it's just a completely different matchup. And I don't know if KC is going to change things up, but I'm expecting a lot of short, quick throws. And I think the Eagles defense can they should have success with that, right? Like that's their strength. Outside, Quinyon Mitchell has been the eraser. Quinyon Mitchell is 5 catches allowed on 15 targets this playoffs, 2 interceptions, 25 yards allowed. He's been an absolute eraser so far. So how is Andy Reid going to attack this Eagles defense? Because I think what he's done primarily this season, on paper, it's not going to work against this Eagles secondary.
Yeah, the Chiefs are not this high flying explosive offense like they were when they had Tyreek Hill. Like this is a completely different schematic, I guess, attack for Andy Reid in this version of the Chiefs offense. They ranked first this season in EPA per play on short passes. So just back to your Patrick Mahomes behind the line of scrimmage stats, he targeted receivers on a career high 26.9%. On behind the line of scrimmage for a league high 45 first downs. Philadelphia's defense allowed the fewest yards per attempt and the lowest success rate on those plays. They are very good. Vic Fangio really does a good job of knowing or telling his defenders when to attack the ball. Like if you watch the film, they're almost just like they're really in rhythm and just like they play together and they don't allow kind of those broken tackles, screen passes, stuff like that we saw the Chiefs offense rip the Bills with last week or 2 weeks ago at this point, and what they've done over the season. Like this is what they feast on. And I think this Eagles defense is going to have to focus on that. Now they have Xavier Worthy who can run over the top. Marquise Brown can run over the top. They have guys that can do it, but it's just not their MO anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly. And also a big difference on this Kansas City offense compared to the last time these two teams met would be the offensive line of Kansas City. Back 2 years ago, this interior was a huge strength. That's not a strength anymore. Joe Thuney's kicked out to left tackle. He's gone from an all-pro guard to a mediocre left tackle, but that's how bad the left tackle position was for the Chiefs this year.
DJ Humphreys got a shot. Kingsley Suamataia. It was kind of
I'm glad you said his name because I wasn't.
After months of preparing for him to get drafted, I had to learn it.
Yeah, and Kansas City this season, they had the least explosive run game in the NFL this year. So I don't expect them to really pick up chunks on the ground. Maybe they can try to keep it manageable, second and short, third and short. That's kind of been their offense all season. But it's not that power run game that they used to have that was so effective. And Isaiah Pacheco, since coming back from injury, he hasn't had that explosiveness. So the EPA on zone outside runs has gone a tick down as the season's progressed. So it's crazy to say, but I do think that the Eagles defense has the matchup advantage on this side of the ball. And we're talking about a team going up against Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Just more to the interior. My big matchup to watch, like I'm going to be really zoned in on this, is the interior pass rush of the Eagles against the Chiefs' interior offensive lineman. And you said Joe Thuney kicks out, to left tackle. Mike Caliendo steps in at left guard. And it's been pretty up and down for Mike Caliendo since he's jumped into the starting lineup. So if you look at over his last 4 games, he's allowed 13 pressures, 6 hurries, and 1 sack. He had a 38 PFF grade. So if you were to take that from all the starting guards in the NFL for the season and use it for those 4 games, that'd be the second last ranked offensive guard in pass protection. So PFF doesn't love him. The numbers show that he hasn't done a good job. Was it Phillips on the Bills last week or 2 weeks ago, like on that third down play, just kind of ran him over. It was late in the game. You remember they forced the Chiefs to kick that field goal, right? So that the Bills were able to take advantage with lesser defensive tackles. Now, Jalen Carter primarily rushes against the opposing team's right guard. So he's usually the left interior rusher. I'm assuming that the Chiefs, like if they, in a perfect world, the Chiefs are going to want to have Trey Smith take away Jalen Carter one-on-one. Like that's the matchup. You take him, and then you have Creed Humphrey getting extra attention on the Milton Williams or Moro Ojomo on the right side. Ojima, his name looks like Ojimo, but it's Ojima. It's a name I still bothers me to this day with the Eagles. Anyways, so that in a perfect world, but Jalen Carter is a freak, and he's not a guy you want to leave one-on-one. Like even Trey Smith, one of the better guards in the league, he's going to get a ton of money this offseason as free agent. He's going to need help. So I'm really zoned in on one specific matchup: Milton Williams versus Mike Caliendo when there's one-on-ones. I think they're going to get, he's going to have a lot of those opportunities. And I think this has the outlook of like a big Milt Williams who's also going to get a ton of money in free agency.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him in an orange Bears jersey next year, to be honest.
He's walking. He'll be elsewhere.
Yeah, so but the thing is, Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen at evading pressure or what's the terminology? Avoiding sacks from pressure. He's one of the best we've ever seen do that.
Third highest success rate in the NFL when pressured this season.
Yeah, so getting pressure is one thing. It's will the Eagles be able to convert those pressures into negative plays?
Yes,
yeah,
they need to finish the job. I have that specifically in my notes here because he has the highest sack rate of his career, 6.1% this season out of any season, which is not high. It's still not high.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But you are right. Like it's a vulnerable Chiefs offensive line. Now, just for the Chiefs offense, what I think they're going to do, I think they're going to try to run the ball early. They're going to try to kind of take away that pass rush. I think you're going to see a lot of first down carries in this game, try to get those 4, 5, 6 yards. So to make a lot of things easier, I don't think you're going to see a ton of Mahomes attempts in this game. I really think they're going to try to establish a run. And I think you're going to see a ton of motion. I think they're going to try to put Cooper DeJean, who's a rookie. Cooper DeJean's been downright awesome this year. But if you're Andy Reid and you're looking at like which guys I can try to confuse on that defense, I do think Cooper DeJean's probably going to be the one. He's going to probably doing a lot of running around in this game. And I think they're going to try to attack Oren Burks. He's a linebacker who filled in for Nakobe Dean. Now, Oren Burks has played really well in the playoffs, and he's done a good job. However, he was like thrusted into the starting lineup. He's 29 years old. This is kind of his first big opportunity. Actually, he played in the 2023 Super Bowl with the 49ers.
Yeah, that was a note I had, was he filled in for Dre Greenlaw once he got injured, and Reed went right after him.
Yeah.
So I kind of expect something similar because really this season, this Philly defense, all the stats are off the charts. The one area they're middle of the pack was actually versus 2 tight end sets this year. They ranked 17th in EPA per play against 2 tight end sets compared to number 2 against 3 wide receiver sets. So I do expect more Noah Gray. I know he was a popular prop bet against the Bills and it was quiet, but they used 3 wide receiver sets that game primarily. And I expect Reed to go back to their prominent 2 tight end set with both Kelsey and Gray on the field, because I think if you are to try to attack this Philly defense, it's got to be the middle of the field. I mentioned the stats about Quinyon Mitchell. He's been an eraser on one side of this field, and don't sleep on Darius Slay on the other. So I think you got to go middle of the field with 2 tight end sets if you're Andy Reid.
Yeah, like CJ Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship aren't the greatest in coverage either. Like if a lot of the kind of the big plays and the negative plays the Eagles have had this season on defense have been those 2 in coverage, if you can kind of get them moving through the middle of the field. Now, the Eagles allowed the least amount of yards to opposing tight ends this season by a wide margin. Like they were the best at covering tight ends. I think those 2 tight end sets will help open up maybe other players as well. And the Eagles aren't just a great base defense. So if you can kind of get them into 3, like a heavier set, which they are the number 1 light box team in the NFL. So Andy Reid's going to really try to mismatch this and try to get the right players that he wants on the field. All right. One more thing I have, Nolan Smith versus Jawan Taylor is another matchup I'm fascinated by because
I was kind of reading that I think Smith's going to be going up against Tooney because Tooney kind of does struggle against speed rushes on the edge. So I don't.
Smith primarily rushes the right tackle. He kind of flip flops, but
because Brandon Graham's back though, right?
The Graham thing. I don't know how many snaps he's going to play. I would try. If I'm like looking at this game, this is from like just me looking at the Eagles and what they've been able to do since he's out. I would read it as like he gets 7 to 15 at the max. Look, he tore his triceps 2 months ago.
Yeah, sure.
He's 36 years old here. The Eagles have done well with the 3 rotation of Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, and Jalix Hunt. So I just don't know how much of a factor Brandon Graham's going to. We'll see. I could be completely wrong here, but I don't know. The way I'm viewing it is like
either way, I like Nolan Smith's matchup.
Yeah, because Jawan Taylor's like the most jump heavy tackle in the league. Like that guy false starts all the time.
Yeah,
he takes a lot of penalties. So like I think Nolan Smith can kind of cause a little chaos. But do we want to talk about Mahomes at all? Like before we move on, we barely talked about him.
It's so true. We barely talked about him, but he's the most boring quarterback to talk about this season. He doesn't throw the ball down the field. his stats are so unsexy, but he just wins. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really have many notes on him. I don't know what else to say about the guy other than he's the boogeyman. He just wins games, but there's no like jaw-dropping stats this season to point at.
No. He's been like, if you take a look at just like his analytical stats and whatnot, he's just been top, like just above the top 10. But at the same time, in the playoffs, he comes alive 7-0 in the playoffs when he needs a game-winning drive. Like
Yeah. How about Kansas City as a team? They have 17 or their last 17 one-score games. They've won them all. They're 17-0 in their last 17 one-score games. That's an NFL record. It's just, I know. Let's talk a little bit about this narrative that games are fixed and then the refs are a big factor and they're all Chiefs fans, but 17 straight one-score wins. No, that's the Chiefs being well coached, good fundamentals, and they don't beat themselves. Like, and I'm just so sick of the
devil fucking magic, Warrensy. They're killing kids under Arrowhead.
I know, but
17 in a row is just, it's not. I can't wrap my head around it. But you're right. Like, the Arrowhead coach are disciplined. The narrative of the Chiefs refs thing. I remember we were watching the Texans game together, and I was like, this is like, it's hard for me to like not say the refs are on their side in this one, because like that passer or the roughing the passer was bullshit. The one where Mahomes' scramble was bullshit. Like, that was the one game where I'm kind of going like, all right. Like something now, this is why fans and crazy people believe this narrative. It's funny at the Score. Whenever we write articles about the Chiefs and the refs, they do the most views, clicks, comments. People are just like,
they love it. Yeah. Well, my comment to people who think it's fixed is then go put 10 grand on the Chiefs. Then you think it's fixed? Put your money where your mouth is, because everybody, as soon as I say that to somebody, they go, "Oh, I'm not betting on it." And it's like, "Oh, but you think it's fixed?" So
Kansas City's one of the worst markets in sports. Too like, I get they have the Taylor Swift thing, but like, if the NFL was fixed, the Cowboys would be in the Super Bowl every year, ladies and gentlemen. So
or they'd have one playoff win.
They haven't been to the conference championship since 1996. Okay, one more thing just on this. There's a narrative that's getting thrown around a lot, on online, people and on sports talk shows about Vic Fangio being 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes in his career. I think it's a really dumb narrative. If you take a look at those 0-8. The Chiefs offense averaged 21.6 points per game in those 8 games. The Chiefs defense had 6 defensive touchdowns in those games. So like, they did a lot of pulling there. The Fangio's offenses in those games average 11.8 points. So they just absolutely nothing. And Shio Kapati did a great job on the Ringer of breaking this down. He did a chart. So if you look at EPA per pass play, Fangio held him to 0.15 and a 50.2% success rate. Patrick Mahomes against everyone else had a 0.23 EPA per pass play and a 51.4 success rate. So he was actually better against everyone else except Fangio analytically. So I find that narrative, and comparing like a quarterback to like
8-0 is 8-0 though.
No, but like my point is like comparing an opposing the quarterback against a defensive coordinator on a different team is just a narrative that I just wanted to squash. I think it's dumb. It has happened with the Lamar Jackson on the Eagles-Ravens week, and look, the Eagles did very well against Lamar. Like, different players, different year, different times.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm gonna guess Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid's record is very good against a lot of defensive coordinators. Exactly. It's comes with the territory once you start handicapping Chiefs games.
Okay, let's flip to the other side of the ball. Eagles offense versus the Chiefs defense. Now, the Eagles offense in that 2022 game did very well. They put up 35 points. They were able to throw the ball. However, the Chiefs defense did get a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts in this game. He had to play a lot of hero ball in that one. He had the deep pass to A.J. Brown. He had a really nice sort of guard on the sidelines. Jalen Hurts had his best performance I can remember as him as an Eagles quarterback in my lifetime. I think that was when I look back at his career.
And he still... was the reason they lost the game with one play.
Wasn't the reason they lost the game.
It was.
I hate that. No, it wasn't.
He doesn't fumble. They win the game.
No, the Chiefs. It was 3rd and 6 at the time of the fumble. The Chiefs were going to get the ball back at that time. The Eagles went down and scored a touchdown. Literally, 2 minutes later, they were up by 10 points going into halftime. They did not lose the game because of one fumble. You can't say, because that 7 points happened, they lost by 3. It's different. That you can say
Wasn't
that with
it a
every
fumble
game.
6 or no?
Yeah, it was a fumble. They returned it for a touchdown, but they were still up by 10 points at halftime after that fumble, and the Eagles offense drove right down the
Yeah,
field
but
and
wouldn't you
scored.
have
And
been
it was
up 17 if you didn't do that
it was
then?
3rd and 6, Warren Z. Like when that play happened, the Eagles were gonna punt the
Yeah, but
ball
you
back
take
to the
7
Chiefs.
points away from the
The Chiefs.
Chiefs.
So you're just saying the Chiefs wouldn't have scored then? Like if they got the ball back, like you don't know. That Chiefs offense was moving the ball at will that game anyways. They're probably going to score on that next drive. Jalen Hurts, they didn't lose the game because of that fumble. They lost because of bad defense and bad special teams and bad Nick Sirianni not going for 4th and 2. Yes, it was a costly fumble. You can say that. But
don't forget James Bradbury.
Yeah, no, that was I have come to the realization it was a holding penalty. At the same time, you should have fucking called it in that situation. I don't want to go down that road. Anyways, the Eagles offense did well, 35 points. Historically, Hurts has actually been pretty good against Spags. Now, the 2023 game, not so much. He came alive at the end. But back in 2021, the Eagles offense moved the ball at will against the Chiefs defense. I still remember watching the game. Warranty, the Chiefs offense had 7 possessions. They scored 7 touchdowns in that game. The Chiefs won 32-31. That was Gannon like at his prime right there, baby. Like the Chiefs did whatever they wanted. Andy Reid had that defense in a blender. But historically, Hurts has actually done pretty good against the Spags defense. Now, if you were an NFL analyst and you were to say what type of coordinator and what type of defense would give Hurts trouble, it would be a Spags defense, in my opinion, the way that he does zone blitzes, stuff like that. I'll pass the ball to you now. Enough of me talking. What do you make of this matchup here?
Yeah, well, Philadelphia offense, 1st in rush attempts, dead last in passing attempts. They were actually the only team in the NFL this season to run the ball more than they pass the ball. You know, the old school coaches like get Cower. They're big Eagles fans this weekend. Run the ball, get a fullback in there.
The 50-year-old or the 65-year-old dad at the high school stadium, you know, who just loves his type of football.
Run the ball.
Yeah.
So they're turning the clock back, but hey, why the hell wouldn't you when it's Saquon Barkley and this offensive line? The Kansas City rush defense, first 7 weeks of the season, they ranked 6th in EPA per rush, and they had a tough schedule. Those games included games against the Ravens, the Falcons, 49ers, 3 good rush offenses this season. However, since week 7, they're 18th, and that includes a way, way easier schedule, a bottom 10 schedule of opposing run offenses. So what has happened to this Kansas City rush defense? How are they going to flip a switch here and stop arguably the greatest running back season we've ever seen?
Yeah, they're actually allowing positive EPA on rushes in the playoffs so far, 10th out of 14 teams in success rate allowed in the playoffs. James Cook averaged 6.7 yards a carry. Joe Mixon averaged 5.9 yards a carry in their game. I think the Texans one is more worrying the Bills because the Bills are one of the best running offenses in the NFL. But the Texans ran the ball very well.
Joe
against
Mixon.
them. Yeah, like Joe.
Yeah.
And the Texans run offense stinks. So like if you're like, I get the Bills one, but I think like Mixon averaging 5 yards a pop and the way they were able to run the ball would be worrying for Chiefs fans. In general, the Chiefs run defense has just been like about average, like for the entire season. They're 16th in success rate. Like they're not going to blow you away. But they're very good at tackling the Chiefs. So if you take a look at some of like more in-depth stats, the Chiefs are 7th in the NFL in yards allowed after first contact per rush. So they do a very good job of getting you on the ground once the running back has the ball, and it allowed you to get more yards. 11th in missed tackles. So Spags has them disciplined. It's actually just both teams are very good at tackling in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So you're saying tackling is important?
Just a little bit in football.
It is, though. You watch a Raiders game, see how many missed tackles they have. Like, it's true. Discipline, the small things. Both these teams are so good at the small things. And going back to that rush defense, last year, the San Francisco offense came in as the number 1 rush offense, and Spags had 2 weeks to draw something up, and they held the San Francisco 49ers to a 33% success rate rushing the ball. So the KC rush defense is definitely trending in the wrong direction, but it's just so difficult to count out Spags scheming something up to plug the hole.
On like the flip side of it, you could find like a good Chiefs run defense stat, like I said, the yards after contact stuff. But when it's Saquon Barkley, like does it all just go out the
Everything,
window?
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's on an absolute fucking heater right now. In the playoffs, 66 carries, 442 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, 6.7 yards per carry. He also went down at like, was it the 45-yard line in that Packers game? Like he could have like 8 yards a carry if he houses that thing. So it's so hard to like break down the run defense versus the Eagles run offense, because it's just there's one freakazoid carrying the ball on the Eagles team. So it's really hard to kind of break it down here for me.
Yeah, I mean, the Kansas City rush defense, I know we're talking about it a lot, but hey, it's the storyline of this football game.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, they were 24th in EPA per rush against 3 wide receiver sets. Is Sirianni and Kellen Moore going to be willing to put Dotson on the field a lot? Because
he does. Dotson, they are 11 personnel team. Like that is their kind of their base offense. But Dotson gets a lot of run. You just don't see him out there because he doesn't catch the ball.
I know. So it feels weird I didn't realize that they were heavy in 11 personnel. I feel like that's not putting your best players on the field. But hey, I think this game you're going to be running out of 3 wide receiver sets. That would force Kansas City to stack the box, playing with an extra corner on the field. I don't know. How are they going to stop Saquon? That is the key to this side of the ball. Nobody's done it all season. Like his listed number for rushing props is 110. I've never seen a number that high. Like
was it 140 against the Commanders?
Hold on.
I think it was 146.
It was like, well, actually, you're right. It was 120. It was 120 something against the Commanders.
I thought it was in the 140s. I could have. Oh, okay. I thought it was like up in the 140s, and he still hit it, didn't he?
Yeah, easily. He had 60 on the first carry.
And just a couple of things on the rushing attack. Going back to because I do think you're right. The Eagles defense versus the Chiefs offense from the 2022 game can't really take anything much away from it. But on this side of the ball, you can. And we brought up I said the reasons why I think the Eagles lost that game: bad coaching, bad defense. Another one, they got no running back production in that Super Bowl. Miles Sanders was the Eagles' lead rusher that season. He was solid throughout the year. Finished six lead wide and out of ball running backs in yards per game. He had 11 touchdowns, 1,269 yards. But in the Super Bowl, he had a costly fumble. The Eagles ended up getting taken. Not costly. He did fumble the ball. They got taken away by a penalty. The Eagles basically benched Sanders after that. Sanders had 7 carries for 16 yards in that game. Awful. Kenneth Gainwell was the leading running back rusher with 7 carries for 21 yards. Boston Scott, 3 carries for 8 yards. It was Jalen Hurts against the world in that game. Like Hurts had to do everything. And Jalen Hurts in that game, 15 carries, 70 yards, averaging 4.7 yards a rush. A lot of it was tush pushes too, and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So he was their main rusher. And now the Chiefs, they have to actually deal with a running back in this one.
Yeah. No, good point. Spags is going to throw a curveball. We don't know what it's going to be. He does every time. He pulls something out. My prediction would be maybe he plays a lot more zone than we're expecting. Jalen Hurts' splits are that he is a lot better versus man than zone. Mm-hmm. I mean, A.J. Brown is every single year is top 5 versus man coverage. This year, I believe in yards per route run, he was number 1 in the NFL. But they do have Trent McDuffie on that side. So is Spags going to take one of his best chess pieces and kind of use him in zone coverage instead of what he excels in, man coverage? That could be a curveball. I have no read on what Spags' base defense is going to look like in this game, because all year they also struggled versus tight ends. They gave up the most yards per attempt against tight ends. I can't bet Goddard's number anymore. That number just went through the roof. Everybody and their brother bet Dallas Goddard's yards right when it opened. So it's heavily inflated right now, but he's got a green light matchup.
Yeah. The just one more thing on the rushing. They have the 6th highest heavy box rate, so I expect a lot of heavy boxes in this one. I think the Eagles are going to try to spread them out. And like you said, the Chiefs are going to throw curveballs, and their curveball, all of them are going to be, let's let Jalen Hurts beat us. So, question for you: confidence level heading in this game in Jalen Hurts.
Oh, I'm so lukewarm on Jalen Hurts because he played really well against the Commanders. Commanders defense is so trash. Like he he had to play well against them. I think any quarterback would play well against them. Commanders gave up a total of 1,300 yards in 3 games these playoffs. This is a completely different beast because Spags, one thing he's amazing at doing is generating pressure through scheme. Jalen Hurts was dead last in the NFL in quarterback rating when pressured. So if you're gonna tell me that Spags is gonna get pressure, then I'm way low on Hurts having a good game.
Mm-hmm.
But if that Eagles O-line picks up these exotic blitzes, yeah, I think Hurts has a great game. So it's just, I know I didn't answer the question, but I'm so stumped on this side of the ball and what props to attack because I don't know if Spags is gonna be able to generate pressure or not.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts against the blitz this season has been a lot better than he was last season. He's top 10 in passer rating, 12th in EPA per play. So like last season, he was bottom 3 in a lot of those categories. So it is something he has improved on a lot this season. But the pressure part is different. Like he's bottom in a lot of those pressure stats, right? Like EPA success rate, I think he's like bottom 3 in many of them. The Chiefs do a very good job of getting pressure on quarterbacks while blitzing. So this season, they're 5th in blitz rate, and they have the 3rd most unblocked pressures out of any team in the NFL. I think the Bucks were up there. It's like the Todd Bowles style, like just kind of cause chaos there. But the Chiefs don't have a very good front 4 pass rush, right? So they're gonna have to send guys,
especially against this Eagles O-line.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to get creative here. And the thing that I was thinking about today was, who are you blitzing? Are you going to send Trey McDuffie on the edge? Have you looked at the other corners? Like, who is the guys that you're going to be sending? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the Chiefs don't have a great secondary. Like, I'm looking at this Chamari Connor versus Devonta Smith matchup and licking my chops right now. Like, Jalen Watson is coming off a broken ankle. He's played a couple games right now. Trent McDuffie is clearly their best player. He's also probably one of their best blitzers. He's the one that caused that blitz against the Bills, right? Like, so if you're sending him, then what? Like, you said there's so many question marks. Like, who is the guy Spags are going to send from where? I'm so curious to see this.
I mean, 2 years ago, Spags blitzed at 43%.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to,
he's blitzed Jalen Hurts out of any highest rated of any quarterback he's played in his career.
Right. So if the number's at 43% blitz rate, do you take the over or the under?
On over under on
like, do you think they blitz more than 43% this time or less?
Probably a little bit more, my guess.
Yeah,
they're
gonna
do anything they can to get pressure. Like, I don't think the Chiefs front 4 is going to get after guys or get after the offensive line. So
Chris Jones historically in the Super Bowls played really well. He might have had his worst playoff game of his career against the Eagles 2 years ago. He's got to step up, especially I know you're the Eagles insider. What's Dickerson and Jurgens' injury status?
That's something I want to talk about because they both said they're going to play throughout the media run. And today, the injury report that dropped, they were both full participants in practice. So again, but at the same time, like, it's a back injury for Jurgens and a knee injury for Dickerson. We saw how banged up Dickerson was in that game. Like, if I'm Spags, like, I'm trying to attack those guys. And at the same time, I've been very disappointed with the interior blocking of the Eagles throughout the playoff run. A lot of the sacks and negative plays have come through Mekhi Becton and Cam Jurgens. I thought Jurgens was awful against the Rams in pass blocking. I thought Becton also had a rough game earlier against the Packers. Like, they haven't been great at pass blocking. They're a great run blocking team, but they have holes on the interior of the pass blocking offensive line that Spags is going to try to take advantage of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's I think it's going to be a hell of a ball game, man.
Yeah. And something that's like positive, if you're an Eagles fan as well, with Jalen Hurts against the blitz, he did very well in the 2022 game against the blitz. So he was 10 of 13 on all of his throws, and it was the highest completion percentage of any quarterback against Spags' blitzes in his entire playoff career. So he's like, they've had success at it, but at the same time, like, if there's unblocked pressures, if they're pushing Jurgens back Dickerson, then it just changes everything up.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on this side of the ball?
No, I've got all my notes have been used.
All right. Do you want to talk gambling then?
Let's gamble, baby.
Okay. Warranty and I will be back on the other side with our best bets, MVP prediction, and Super Bowl prediction.
The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with professional licensed therapists you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.
And we're back on the Double Doink Podcast. We're giving you our 5 best bets for Super Bowl 59. Mr. Warnsey, I will start with my favorite one. When I tell you this is free money, it's fucking free money. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, like this is the easiest
Gotta
bet.
be a halftime show.
No, I'm going to get to a weirder one. The anthem. You know, I'm the anthem guy. I've been
You
studying
are
it
my anthem insider.
and I got it for you this year as well. Don't you worry. But this is like, I still can't believe, I'm baffled that it's still this low, and I would hit it now while you can. Jalen Hurts touchdown -110. It's very simple. He's going to run in the end zone. He's going to get a touchdown. Jalen Hurts had 3 last week, 3 in the 2022 Super Bowl. In the season, he has 17 and 18 games. So on average, he's basically scoring a touchdown every single game. The Eagles are going to push the hell at any opportunity they have. Like, they're going to do it, and he's going to score. So if you're going to place a large wager, I highly recommend that you do it on just Jalen Hurts touchdown -110 while you can get it now. That's the reasoning I have. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, no, I do like that quite a bit. I mean, people are up in arms about the tush push. They don't like it, but
Fuck off.
like I said about the Chiefs, if you're complaining about the refs, then just bet on the tush push. If you hate it so much, bet Jalen Hurts touchdown.
And
then you'll like it.
And like, this is great. Like, this might be nuts, but like, bet him multiple. Bet him 2. Bet him 3. If he's 2+ right now, plus 550, plus 3 is plus 2,900. I know that's insane, but he had it last Super Bowl and he did it last week. So like, there's history behind it in the playoffs. So I don't know. I just think Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown is basically automatic in this one and free money.
I don't hate it. I'll give out this is my bet with the highest juice. It's a -140, but I'm going to be on the total sacks under 5.5. Mentioned that Patrick Mahomes is excellent at evading sacks, and then you have the Eagles' offensive line to boot. So although I do think there will be a couple sacks, I don't think we'll get to 6. So I'm going to go under 5.5 sacks, and I promise the rest of my bets won't have as much juice.
All right. Under 5.5 sacks. So you're hoping offensive lines don't crater. I don't mind it. Patrick Mahomes is so good at it.
I also just think both teams are going to run the ball early. I don't think there's going to be a lot of 3rd and longs. I don't think there's going to be a lot of times where the quarterback's standing in the pocket, holding onto the ball for longer than 3 seconds. So under 5.5 sacks.
All right. Next one up, I have Devonta Smith over 59.5 receiving yards. If you look at the 3 times Devonta Smith has played the Chiefs, he has 6+ catches in all 3 games. He has 99 yards receiving in all 3 games and 2+ explosive receiving catches in those games. He's torch bags in the 3 games that Devonta Smith has played him. The Chiefs have given up the highest yards per route run to opposing slot receivers. Devonta Smith's going to spend a lot of time in the slot. And I said that Shamari Connor versus Devonta Smith matchup is, in my opinion, the biggest mismatch on this defense. They're going to spend a lot of their focus this week on stopping A.J. Brown. I think if the Eagles are going to win this game, you're going to see Dallas Goedert and Devonta Smith have a big role in the passing game. And I think 59.5 is too low. I like Smitty to have a big game in this one.
Yeah, I like that more than I like Goddard's number, because Goddard's number has been juiced all the way up to 52.5 now. So I'm seeing Devonta Smith only at 52.5 as well.
I have 59 on. It was 59.5. I think I have plus 130 plus 59.5. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
so
52.5.
I'd go
then.
the -1 then. Yeah, take the 52.5. Be conservative there.
Yep.
My next one, this is a special on FanDuel. It is who will have more tackles plus assists, either Cooper DeJean or Justin Reed. I'm going to take Justin Reed at -120. I think Cooper DeJean isn't going to have a lot of tackles because he's going to be so well in coverage. Nobody's going to throw at him. Justin Reed, I do imagine being in the box a little bit more. You mentioned the Chiefs stack the box quite often. Justin Reed could be one of those players they use in those types of formations. So Justin Reed, more tackles than Cooper DeJean, -120.
Justin Reed was awesome in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. He was arguably one of their
good
best players. Yeah, he was fantastic. So he's going to be very important for them. Yeah, I think he's going to be very active. He flies the ball. I like that a lot. All right, next one. Kareem Hunt, touchdown +150. I really like this value here. He has a rushing touchdown in 4 straight games. He's become their red zone back. He's a big guy. He kind of bowls people over. I think you get good value to get like the Chiefs starting running back, or not starting running back, but the running back they use in the red zone at +150. Like I said, 4 straight games. That +150 is enough juice for me. So I really like that. If you're looking for a Chiefs touchdown score, I think he's my favorite.
All right, I'm sticking with Kareem Hunt. I'm actually going to take his rush yards under 43.5. I just feel like Kareem Hunt has no juice. And
He does. When was the last time Kareem Hunt ripped off a 12+ yard run?
That's what I mean. I'm not worried about him ripping off a long gain to really hurt this number. His listed attempts is at 11.5. So let's say he goes under that and gets 10 carries. I don't see him averaging more than 4.5 yards a carry. So give me Kareem Hunt under 43.5. I do think he's going to be splitting touches with Pacheco. So I don't think he reaches 43.5. Although I do agree with you, he will get the goal line touches over Pacheco.
Yeah, I don't see Kareem Hunt having like an explosive runs and whatnot. The Eagles just don't allow that anyways, and that's just not the kind of the Chiefs formula. I think they're one of the, like you said at the top, I think they're one of like the least explosive run teams in the NFL. They'll do it through other ways, through like Xavier Worthy, quick passes, stuff like that. All right, national anthem time. Actually, you know what? I'll hold national anthem to the last. Okay, let's go. Milton Williams 1+ sack +220. I think Milton Williams is gonna have a big game. Yeah, I like those odds a lot. Like I said, his one-on-one matchup against Mike Caliendo is going to be one of my main kind of where my eyeballs are going to be on this game. Milton Williams is literally the most underrated defensive tackle pass rusher in the NFL this season. 50 pressures, 24 tackles, and 5 sacks. I think he's going to make so much money. He has a chance to make even more money this game. He's going to get a ton of one-on-ones in this one. I really, really like Milton Williams to have a big game and take him for 1 sack +220.
All right. I don't mind that at all. My next one, I mentioned that I do expect the Chiefs to go heavy on the 2 tight end sets. I think Noah Gray, because he was shut out, he didn't have a single catch against the Buffalo Bills. His number has come down, and at 12.5, I'm going to take the over there. I just think that he's going to be on the field a lot. He's going to get more targets this game than he did the last couple. So give me over 12.5 yards for Noah Gray. And you got to expect number 87 is probably on Vic Fangio's mind more than any weapon of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to get a lot of attention. So I think Noah Gray just sneak out there. Give me a nice 13-yard catch.
You know, I was thinking about Fangio. Like, you used to love that guy, and you remember like in an early podcast. I know, but it's funny now. Like, he's the decoy of the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I don't know. It's just like a full circle double dog podcast moment.
It is.
Remember, like when the Dolphins hired him, we were all over that Dolphins defense. Like,
and they were good last year. They just got way too banged up. They
started really rough, and then they finished hot down the stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, the national anthem. So this is what I bring to the show every single year, and here's my research. John Batiste. I think that's how you pronounce it. He is a New Orleans native, and he is going to be doing the national anthem. So since he's from New Orleans, he can play the guitar and the piano. I think he's gonna do one of those. He's gonna want to put on a show. I get it. Like, you know, you're in front of your home crowd. It's his moment. He'll want to do something special. He has 2 recorded anthems in his time, like actually on camera, where you can go back and study it. So first off, the total is 120.5 seconds. So just over 2 minutes. That's where you're going to find the national anthem total everywhere. In the 27 NBA All-Star game was one of them. He had 1 minute and 46 seconds. The second one was the U.S. Open that exact same year, 1 minute and 29 seconds.
Was he in a rush? He's got a hot date?
Yeah, US Open, he just wanted to get out of there. So both of those scream under. Now, I brought up the guitar and the piano thing because a lot of people forget that the national anthem doesn't start until he starts singing. He can do the piano and guitar before it, all he wants. But once he says a word, that's when the national anthem time starts. We have never seen historically in the national anthem history of Super Bowls where like in the middle, he'll just do like a guitar solo or a piano solo. It's usually done before. So I would not worry about that. I think this is a clear under, Warnsey, in my opinion. Clear under. The data shows it. 120 or 2 minutes, 0.5 is way too high for me. So I love national anthem, hit the under of what was the exact 120 seconds, 0.5.
All right, you are my anthem guy. You are the inside. Was it 2 years ago, the Eagles one? You were so adamant about that one, and you're bang on.
Yeah,
or
I did so
which
much
year
research
was
on that.
it?
It was the Eagles one. I remember I did so much research on it.
You were so heavy
this year
on that
because
one.
there were I can't remember who did it, but there were so many like
Chris Stapleton, right?
Stapleton.
Or no,
Yeah.
he was last year.
Yeah,
he was last year.
It's one that I did a lot because there were so many ones recorded for that. I can't remember that. I have no idea what you're talking about, and I had to like dissect it more. This one is pretty straightforward, in my opinion. He has 2 recorded. I'm feeling the John Batiste under. So I know you're going to do a lot of Super Bowl prop sheets. Assuming your Super Bowl party will have one, which I will not be attending because I will break walls and make your experience miserable. So I will be watching at home. But yeah, so I like the anthem under.
Alrighty, I'll end on a fun one as well. Obviously, all the girlfriends and wives come out and watch the Super Bowl. On Bet365, you got the Swifty Specials tab. So I'll get one of the Swifty Specials in there, and it is called 22. It's Travis Kelce to have 22 receiving yards in each half. That's at plus 105. So something for the wives to sprinkle on. 22 yards a half, Travis Kelce.
There was I was trying to find some like funny Super Bowl bets. There wasn't as many this year as in past years. Last year,
there's just like classics like
the coin toss one is
Gatorade
hilarious.
and stuff.
That'd be plus 1,500 or plus 15,000 for the coin to land on its edge. Which, like, I think didn't like Leicester City have like worse odds than that to win the Premier League in 2016? Like,
yeah,
I think the odds should be a little higher than plus 50,000. How many times would you flip a coin for that to happen? Like
billions.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen. And some of them were like Swift related. Like I think one was plus 7,000 where Travis Kelce retires and proposes to Taylor Swift on the field and Chiefs win or something like that. There's a lot of Swift related ones, but
there is.
All right, Warnsey. Game prediction time, Super Bowl MVP time. You're up.
Alrighty. So this is the first time in my life I think I've ever seen a non-quarterback as a favorite for the MVP. In this case, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon Barkley has shorter odds than Jalen Hurts. I can't remember ever seeing that in my life. But I'm sorry, Brenden. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to win this football game. I think it's going to be an excellent football game, but the casuals are not going to enjoy it because I have a low-scoring 21-17 victory for the Kansas City Chiefs. I actually like the Chiefs to win by 1-6 at plus 320. I will be betting that. Chiefs just don't blow people out. Like I said, they've won 17 straight one-score games, so I like Chiefs 21-17. I will also be betting the under, which I know you do not care about.
That's gross. Are you really going to put money on the under in the Super Bowl?
I think this is going to be a really competitive, low-scoring football game.
You should be sent to Alcatraz. Like crime.
Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah. Like it's the Super Bowl, dude. You don't want to root for a low score. I know you love defense and all, but like, come on. Like, do you not have a heart? Do you not have a life?
I just think that both these defenses are good, and I see
but
the
so
football purists will love this game.
There's so many other bets you can make. You don't have to just pick one that you
put it this way. I feel more, if it makes you feel better, I feel better about the under than I do about the Chiefs winning, because I'm probably not going to bet the winner of this game, to be honest. I am not tight on it. I don't have a great feel on it, and we should have mentioned at the top of the show, the spread opened at Eagles -1.5. It's Eagles -1. Normally you see a little bit of fluctuation in the spread rate from open, but it felt like it stayed at 1.5 for about 10 days before that finally moved off that number. So I think there's a lot of people in the same boat where they really don't have a great feel on the winner of this game.
I'm not mad at you for picking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. Like, is it the favorite?
Yeah.
Like, it's I think a lot of people share the same, I guess, like bet or what thinking. Like, it's Patrick Mahomes. Why wouldn't you? Like, what's the like? I know the Eagles team's better, but at the same time, Mahomes is him, and he's done so much to prove everyone wrong. And a three-peat is probably, I'm gonna say probably in the cards. Like, it's an easy bet to make. However, like, I'm not gonna. I gotta go with my Eagles, and I'll explain a couple more reasons. I'm looking at that 2022 game, and I just think this team is so much more better suited to take down a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Vic Fangio's defense is going to be well disciplined and get after these short, quick passes. I also think the turnover thing is key here. The Chiefs don't turn the ball over a lot, but the Eagles defense has forced 10 turnovers in the playoffs without turning the ball over. Mahomes gave up one last against the Bills. I think there's going to be one or two times where the Chiefs have bad plays and there's turnovers that happen. I think the Eagles win the turnover battle. The Saquon Barkley aspect, I can't get out of my mind. Like, he's just on an absolute heater right now. He's playing so well. And I loved what I saw from Jalen Hurts last week. I really do think he's going to have a solid game. I don't think he's going to maybe have as good as a game, but I really think this is Jalen Hurts' time. I think he does it. He's looked back at that 2020 Super Bowl. It's been his phone background ever since. He's finally got it in his hands here, and he has the right team to do it. I think Nick Sirianni will be more aggressive like he was on that 4th and 5 last week. There was that 4th and 2 where he punted it away. Kadarius Toney returns to 62 yards, and that was basically the game there. And a lot of the way the Chiefs won in 2022 was the defensive miscommunication on the Eagles front. They had those 2 touchdowns where the motion confused them and they got open guys. That's not going to happen with this Eagles team. I am going 31-21 Eagles. I think the Eagles offense does well. I think they score a touchdown late off a forced turnover. A Milton Williams sack forces an overthrow. Reed Blankenship picks it off, houses that thing. Pick 6 makes it 31-21. I think Jalen Hurts is hosting that Lombardi Trophy, and I think he's going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl at plus 370. I think that's great odds for a quarterback to win to win the MVP, because Barkley can still run for 110 yards and a touchdown, and Hurts could like have I guess an average game. They're going to give it to the quarterback. They're going to give it to the storyline. One other thing that I found interesting, I want to throw this your way. Since the Super Bowl, teams that had a bye week against teams that didn't have the bye week in the playoffs are 0-10. So the teams that have the extra wildcard game and play the extra game are 10-0 against the spread. I should have said it that way.
Wow.
So the teams that have the kind of the momentum rolling do better in the Super Bowl. The only team that's won out of those 10 games was the Steelers against the Cardinals, and the Steelers won on that last second touchdown. Now, I'm not a big trends guy, but I did find that interesting. I think it matters for this one because the Eagles have so much momentum going. Everything just seems to be going their way right now. They're playing so damn well. They have not lost a football game since September 29th that Jalen Hurts has started and finished. I think they finish it off, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself on Sunday if they win. I don't know how I'm going to react.
Yeah.
Tears will be shed.
All right.
I was watching videos of me in 2017. Like, it's crazy. It's here, man. 3 more days. Do you have anything else?
My last note is I am going to sprinkle on some really long shots on the Eagles defense for MVP, because I do think if the Eagles win, it is because their defense completely dominates. And I think Saquon and Jalen Hurts might cancel each other out a little bit. You've talked me into Milton Williams now. He's 750 to 1 to win MVP. I'll be putting at least a loony on that. And then you have other guys like Jalen Carter, 100 to 1, Zach Bond, 120 to 1. So probably put $2 on each of those guys and $1 on Milton Williams for MVP, just because I do think the Eagles' path to victory is defense based.
Yeah, and there's historic of defense players winning it, right? It's happened with the Patriots or the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks guy. Is he even in the league anymore? What's his name? It's like Malcolm Smith.
Malcolm Smith. Yeah, Malcolm Smith. I think you're right. But yeah,
Yeah.
Zach Bond's plus 12,000. I was looking at today. So the Eagles defense definitely has some guys that can kind of take over. All right, Warren Z, that's all we got. Thanks so much.
Yeah, sorry, last note is I was shocked. Philadelphia this year was the first team in NFL history to add 2 first-team All-Pro starters in free agency. Zach Bond and Saquon Barkley. Like that talk about Howie Roseman there. That's
Becton,
incredible.
CJ Gardner-Johnson, like he rocked free agency. All except for Bryce Huff. That was basically
and the draft.
Yeah, Bryce Huff was his most expensive free agent, and he's the one that's not doing anything. So,
yeah. Is he hurt? Is he playing?
He's healthy. He just doesn't play. He doesn't get playing time. He doesn't deserve it. All right. Thanks so much for tuning. Really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. That'd be greatly appreciated. Go fucking Birds. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you later.